I have a friend, Scott Johnston, who was a pastor in Atlanta, and a few years ago, he was called to be the pastor of the Fifth Avenue Presbyterian Church in New York City. He arrived in August of 2008. In October of 2008, the world came apart economically. And Scott said, if you think people were nervous in Atlanta or Cincinnati about that, you should have been in New York, the financial capital of the world. People were on edge. Not only that, but the Fifth Avenue Church had just taken on a huge mortgage to build an outreach center and an educational facility. He said, I had one panic-struck officers meeting after another, and they would always end the same way. We'd get to the end of the meeting and the chair would say, okay, I think we've got it, as long as another shoe doesn't drop. But of course, you remember those terrible months. Another shoe would drop. And we'd have another panic-struck officers meeting, and it would end, okay, I think we've got it now, as long as another shoe doesn't drop. Scott said, I was doing okay with it. I was being a good pastor to them, calming them down. But one afternoon, I lost it. I was in my office all by myself, and I got afraid that we weren't going to make it, that my leadership was not going to be enough. And he said, I put my head down on my desk, and I prayed, and the spontaneous prayer that came out of my mouth was, oh God, please, no more shoes. No sooner had I uttered it than there was a knock on the door. It was the sexton saying, Dr. Johnson, I think you better come down right now to the overnight shelter. They have a little overnight shelter for homeless people. He said, so I went down there, and there standing at the door of the shelter were two uniformed New York City police officers, and I thought, oh no, now what? And one of them said, Pastor, we have just raided an illegal factory in Brooklyn. They were making counterfeit Timberland boots. We've got 700 pairs of shoes here. He said, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This God is full of abundance. It is Jubilee year, and we are gathered at the table of God in the Church of St. Luke. And it's because even in the present, we can see on the horizon the great victory of God that is coming.